Hi, Colin. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Dr. Rubin. Your primary doctor sent you here today for an evaluation of ulcerative colitis and to talk about treatments.
Yeah, I was diagnosed recently but haven't been able to get better.
Tell me how this started.
I was fine, and then one day I noticed some blood in the toilet.
That must have been scary for you.
Yes.
So what happened after that?
First, I thought it was just a hemorrhoid, but then I started going to the bathroom 5 or even 10 times in a day.
That was about 6 months ago?
Yes.
So what did you think was going on?
I thought it was maybe something that I ate. Nothing, that big of a deal. I thought it'd probably go away.
Yeah, I understand that, but it continued. So what did you do next?
I saw my family doctor and she ordered some tests.
Right, so I have those results here, and it looks like there were some blood tests done, and the blood count was a little low, so
Yes.
you were anemic, but
Yep.
the rest of the tests were all normal. So what did she tell you?
She told me that she thought it was an infection. She asked if I was stressed at school, and she told me to take Imodium.
So you're in school. What are you studying?
I'm in graduate school for a music performance, piano.
Oh, that's terrific. So have you ever suffered from a nervous stomach before, or any problems when you perform?
No, that's the thing. Even when I perform, I've never really had problems.
So after you got these test results back, what happened next?
I was getting worse. I started waking up in the middle of the night with a lot of urgency, and I even had an accident once while I was stuck driving in traffic.
Oh, well, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
So you called your doctor back, or what happened next?
Yeah, I called my doctor, and she gave me a referral.
So I see that you saw a gastroenterologist, one of my colleagues, and what did he do?
He asked me a couple questions, and then he told me that I needed a colonoscopy.
And that was your first colonoscopy,
Yeah.
obviously, right? So I see the results of your colonoscopy. That was in September, and it looks like the lower half of your colon was inflamed.
Yes, he said that this was ulcerative colitis.
And had you ever heard of ulcerative colitis before?
No.
So that was new for you.
Yes.
And what did my colleague tell you next?
He didn't say much. I woke up from the colonoscopy. He said he thought it was ulcerative colitis and wrote me a prescription for a couple of medications that were supposed to treat it. And he also gave me an enema I was supposed to do at bedtime.
Now, that can be difficult to do.
Yeah.
Did the medications help you?
Oh, yeah. I felt much better at first, although I wasn't able to do the enema. But after about a month, the prednisone was stopped, and then my symptoms started getting worse. Dr. Smith had to order more tests.
More tests. Did Dr. Smith talk to you about being in remission?
Yeah, he did mention that.
And what is remission?
Feeling better.
Okay. Well, remission is defined with colitis in a number of different ways. Of course, we want you to feel better. But when we want to be more specific about it, we want you to have formed stool and no more blood, no urgency, sleeping through the night without any bowel movements, basically feeling like you did before this all started. And also, very importantly, we want you to be able to sense what's coming out so you can distinguish between gas and something else. So did you get there?
Oh, when you put it that way, no. I felt better, but definitely not all of those things.
So how are you doing now?
I'm still taking medication. I am still going 10 times a day, and now I'm having trouble sitting through class or practicing piano.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So that's why you're here today. Did Dr. Smith recommend any other therapies for you?
Yes, he said I should take
Azathioprine.
Yes, but that scared me, so I asked for a second opinion, and he sent me to you.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you're here today. Thank you for coming. Let's go over what our goals of treatment are and what some of the options might be at this point. So in addition to making sure you feel well, as I described to you, one of the things we want to do is keep you well forever. That's our goal. And that has to do with understanding not just that you're feeling better, but that the bowel is healed. When patients don't respond to some of the early therapies like you've been on, especially when they're responsive to steroids, but when they come off the steroids, everything comes back, it's time for us to step up their therapy to something else. And azathioprine is part of a group of therapies that can help your immune system control this condition and possibly get you off steroids. But there are some other therapies that have been shown to be a bit more effective, and those are what we call biological therapies. That term means that this is an engineered protein that treats the disease in a specific way. There's two major classes. One group is called anti-TNF therapies. The other group is called anti-integrin therapies. The important thing to understand is that our primary goal is for you to be well and to stay well, and then to be off steroids, of course. So what we need to focus on right now is identifying the right treatment for you, doing it safely, and then we review and talk more about long-term plans after that. So for instance, for the anti-TNF therapies, overall thought to be very safe. The major risk in young people like you would be a risk of infection, whether it's in the sinuses or easily treated pneumonia. There are some rarer risks that we also monitor for. For instance, we would test you for tuberculosis and for hepatitis B before we start, just because it can make those infections worse. And I don't see anything here that suggests that you have a risk for either of those infections.
Great.
We would start those therapies to make sure you get well, and then we would follow up together to make sure we have a longer-term plan for you. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to move forward. Part of how to do this, though, is to work with your doctor, and then also, of course, we have to work with insurance companies to make sure that it's going to be approved and that we can get you started on therapy.
Will I need to be on these drugs the rest of my life?
Well, I doubt that you'll be on them the rest of your life, but you do need to be on some chronic therapy for this condition. So that means that we should think about maintaining you under control. There's a few reasons that these are not likely to be the medicines you'll be on forever. Number one is, first of all, let's make sure they work. Okay. Number two is, even if they work, unfortunately, some people lose response over time. So then we have to switch to something else. The third issue is that there are newer medicines coming all the time. So I mentioned to you different classes of biological therapies. There's newer drugs coming that might manage this disease differently. And you should be having ongoing discussions with me and with your other doctor about whether you should switch or whether there's something new and better for you. So there's a lot of different options that you should be considering. The last option, of course, would be that we cure this disease, which we're working on and we'd like to get to for you.
Yeah, I hope that happens.
Yeah. So let me just ask you a few more questions about other symptoms you may or may not be having that will help us with this. Have you had any problems with joint pain?
Occasionally on my hands and my knees, and since I play piano, it's a real problem that worries me.
I'm sure it does. Well, joint pain is the most common symptom outside of the bowel when people have inflammation of their bowel. And it's very interesting that when we treat the bowel, the joint pain often goes away. Did you find that?
Yes, when I was on the medicines, it was much better, but it came back once the prednisone was stopped.
Okay, so when we get you on a different treatment strategy, it should help the joints, and I would expect those to be improved. Have you had any problems with your skin? Any unusual rashes?
I don't think so, but I guess I have psoriasis on my left elbow. I've had that since I was a kid.
So that came before all of this?
Yes.
So that's not related to this problem, but it might represent another type of overactive immune response, this time on your skin. The colitis is your bowel, so that's interesting to us. How about any problems with your eyes? Have you had inflammation of your eyes?
No, I wear contacts, so occasionally I'll get dry eyes, but I take them out every day, so I don't tend to have any serious problems with eye inflammation.
Any mouth sores?
Occasional cold sores on the inside of my mouth.
Did that respond to the medicine at all?
Prednisone actually made them go away.
Have any right now?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
So what are your current symptoms? How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right, I would say.
But you're not in remission?
No.
Okay.
Definitely not.
So we need to move forward with some of these other options, and I'd like to work with your doctor and try to get you where we need you to be.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your diet. What are you eating?
I stopped eating very much because it made me feel so much worse. Also, since February, I started the new diet that I found on the internet. I cut out all added sugars and processed foods. I eat salads pretty much every day now.
And how's your weight doing? Have you lost weight during all this?
I have. I was 170, and now I'm 155.
So you've lost about 15 pounds?
Yes.
And that's partially due to this new diet, or is it from other reasons?
I stopped eating a lot, and that's probably part of it, and part of it's probably from the new diet.
Yeah. So people obviously tie what they put in their mouth and what goes into their gut with a lot of their symptoms.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we haven't found a diet yet that really treats this disease. So my strong preference would be that you liberate your diet a little bit, and when you're flaring like this, until we get you under control, it would be better for you to be on a low-residue diet. Avoid uncooked fruits and vegetables, which can irritate your bowel, and let's just keep things simple and try to not limit some of those other products you might have read about on the internet.
Great. I can definitely do that.
Okay. Any other questions that you have for me today?
Yes. I read that I'll get colon cancer.
That's a very common concern of patients who are diagnosed with colitis, and it is true that long-standing inflammation can increase that risk, but overall that risk has been really reduced and is much less than it used to be, in part because we're so much better at controlling the disease, and also because we do colonoscopies after you've had this for more than 8 years and we start looking for any precancerous changes. I don't want you to even think about that right now. That's not even something we should be worried about right now, and overall I don't think that'll ever be a problem for you.
That's a huge relief. Thank you so much.